Chapter 23. Fluffed Pillows. "Do you feel up to talking to the police?" the nurse asked. "Will you hold my hand while I do?" "No." "Then no, not really," said Thomas. "Are you always like this?" she asked, reaching for the clipboard again. "What, suffering injuries from cricket bats? Not as a general rule, no. Although the way my life is going, I should probably try and get used to it." She put her hand on his forehead. "It's very hard to know how much of your oddity is concussion and how much is personality." "Oh, almost entirely concussion, I would have thought," said Thomas, "considering I don't have a personality." "That's not a very nice thing to say." "Really? Even though I left out the expletives?" She retrieved her hand and stared at him. "I wonder if I should ask the doctor to look at you again before the police talk to you." "I don't want the police to talk to me." "But you've been injured." "Yes, but I've got a feeling they'll see it as deserved." "That's a dreadful thing to say." "Not really. You see, I know the police quite well, on a first-name basis, in fact, though not in a good way." "Why? Are you a criminal?" Not in the traditional sense of the word, no." "In what sense of the word, then?" "In the sense that I've had several injunctions taken out against me." "Oh, but not in a bad way." "What, there's a good way?" Actually, no. What I mean is they arose out of misunderstandings." "Misunderstandings?" "Yes." "But the police are very good at dealing with misunderstandings," she said, leaning across him to fluff something again. "That's what they do. But if you're not up to it, I can tell them that you're not feeling very well and need to rest." "Yes," said Thomas, "that would be great. I'm in a hospital after all, so they'd probably believe you." Are you being sarcastic?" "No, not at all. I'm very grateful to you, in fact. You've been awfully nice, and the breakfast was excellent. What's more, your hands are warm." "So do you want me to tell them to leave you for the moment?" Thomas sighed. "No, there'll be no point. They'll be back again soon enough." "But are you sure you can't stay with me? You don't have to hold my hand. Just rest it on my forehead like you did a moment ago. That made me feel much better. I'm certain I can help them with their inquiries if your hand is on my forehead." She smiled. "I'm afraid I have others to look after besides you." The man in the bed next to them vomited again to illustrate her point, which she lunged at with a bedpan before it slopped onto the floor. Is that my bedpan?" asked Thomas. "Yes," she said, watching it fill with sick. "Do you need it at this very moment?" "Not as much as he does." Once it was full, she readied to leave. "Thank you for being so nice," said Thomas. "It's really very kind of you. I know you're probably just doing your job, but it means a great deal to me." "Well, you're very welcome." "Such kindness encourages my opinion about the human race in almost all aspects imaginable, which is really saying something, considering I'm currently overwhelmed by its less than admirable bits." "Less than admirable bits?" "Yes. I'm going through a pretty rough time of it at the moment." "I can see that." Frankly, I'm dealing with the sort of adversity that traditionally befalls small nations." She pondered him for some time. "I'll get you another bedpan." When she left, 2 police officers arrived. Thomas knew Sergeant Toby well, an officer who'd taken charge of the plethora of misunderstandings Thomas had inadvertently embroiled himself in over the past 12 months, and none of which he'd been impressed with. Thomas hadn't met the other officer, however, so he smiled at her in an attempt to counter his reputation. "Well, good morning, Mr. Caulfield," Sergeant Toby said. "It's Doctor, actually, and forgive me if I don't return the same greetings, but as you can see, last night was dreadful." "Yes," Toby said, peering at the bandaged parts of Thomas's face. "I can see that. Still, it could be worse." How could it be worse? I've just been hit in the face with a cricket bat." "Is that right?" He moved around the bed. "Well, I suppose it could have been attached to the front of a speeding car." "Is this going to take long?" Thomas said, "because I have some very serious mending to do." Toby indicated the woman. "This is Constable Rosenthorn, and we'd like to ask you a few questions." "That's a nasty knock," she said, after having a peer as well. "Did you see who did it?" "Yes," said Thomas. "Ironically, it was some guy with a cricket bat." "A cricket bat," repeated Toby, jotting this detail down. I see. And can you think of any particular reason he might have wanted to hit you with it? I mean, other than the obvious ones? What obvious ones? Well, your books for a start, and the women you've harassed. I have not harassed women. You've had 4 restraining orders taken out against you in the last 6 months, Thomas. You know perfectly well that 2 of them were downgraded harassment charges. That still leaves 2. Look, said Thomas, his brain pounding as though finding his skull claustrophobic. They were misunderstandings, all right? I'm not used to cafe etiquette. I don't know how these things work, and that woman took things the wrong way. There is no cafe etiquette, Thomas, Toby said. There's just being a normal, respectful, law-abiding citizen. Thomas nodded with exasperation. Yes, we've been through all this in court. I've had the counselling sessions. I've seen the psychiatrist. Doesn't seem to be doing a lot of good, does it? Thomas stared at them both. Why am I the one being hassled here? I've just been assaulted by a cricket bat. Surely we can ignore the veritable swathe of misunderstandings that have accosted me in recent times and concentrate on that. Of course we can, Rosenthorn said. I'm sorry, Mr. Caulfield. You're quite right. We're here about your injury and not about any prior misdemeanours. They're misunderstandings, not misdemeanours. Blimey, I'm not some sort of weirdo who intentionally upsets women, you know. I'm just rather awkward socially. Mr. Caulfield, perhaps we could just focus on what happened last night. Can you remember anything? Thomas stared at her. Yes, actually, I remember getting hit in the face with a cricket bat. Do you have any evidence to support that? Besides the current state of my face? While she jotted something down, Toby glared at him. Tell me, Thomas, he asked, do you recall why you were hit with it? Well, I'm not certain, but I suspect it had something to do with annoying someone who had one. And what, in particular, were you doing to annoy them? I was buzzing their intercom. Is that a euphemism? Toby asked. Why were you buzzing their intercom? Asked Rosenthorn. Because I needed to see someone. See someone? Who? A friend. Toby scoffed and turned to watch the man being sick next door. Yes, my friend. Her name's Janice. At 2 o'clock in the morning? Yes. Why? I'd been out. Out? Yes. By yourself or with Janice? With my barrister, actually. Is Janice your barrister? No. Right. She jotted this down and underlined it. And did you manage to see Janice? No. Why not? Because I was hit in the face with a cricket bat. I see. Would you like us to contact Janice? Thomas stared in astonishment. Would you? Certainly, Rosenthorn said. If you'd like us to, if it would help. Help? But that is so nice. You are so nice. Not like this guy. He pointed at Toby. He's always thinking the worst about me. And there's really no need, because I don't intentionally make women uncomfortable. It just comes naturally. A bit like flatulence. While Rosenthorn stared at him, Toby shook his head and removed himself from the smell of sick. What's her number? Rosenthorn asked. Thomas's face fell. I don't know. Then where does she live? I don't know that either. Well, what's her last name then? Thomas shrugged. Are you sure she's your friend? Rosenthorn asked. If we're not careful, Toby said, leaning into his colleague, we'll end up with 5 injunctions and I'm running out of filing cabinet. Look, said Thomas, I know it sounds odd, but she is my friend. Well, she was up until a night ago. What happened a night ago? Asked Rosenthorn. She went to a party. And something went wrong? Yes. What exactly? Me going with her. Look, is this about the party or about me being hit with a cricket bat? I mean, I feel as though I should be asking for my barrister, which is unfair considering I'm the one who's been hit. You should reserve this sort of questioning for the guy who did this to me. We know who did this to you, Toby said. You do? Yes, and the thing is that you weren't hit with a cricket bat. Thomas stared at him. What? You weren't hit with a cricket bat, Thomas. Well, what the hell do you call this great big stonking wound to my face? It was a door. A what? A door. You know, one of those things that allows people to get through walls. I know what a door is, thank you very much, but I can assure you I wasn't hit with one. No, that's quite right. You walked into it. I did what? You walked into a door. Oh, now you're just making stuff up. You're saying that because you think I deserve to get hit in the face with a cricket bat. We're not saying that at all, Thomas, Rosensthorn said. But believe it or not, it's true. But how can you possibly know that? Because the man with the cricket bat told us. Told you? Yes. He was the one who called us.